Hi, I'm Carla Schaefer, Auntie Beads designer, and I'm going to be demonstrating a unique way to use Swarovski spacer bars. I'm going to go over the list of tools and supplies needed for this project. In this case, I consulted the color wheel to get my colors, so I'm using 12 different color 6mm bicone Swarovski crystals, and in two colors you will need 9. And you will also need 2 4mm sterling silver round beads and 2 3mm sterling silver round beads. You will also need 6 crimp beads in a 2x2 and a 3-strand clasp. In this case, I'm using a 3-strand slide lock. For tools, you'll just simply need a nipper tool and a magical crimp forming tool, and I'm also using a 49-strand .018 beading wire. The first thing you need to do is cut 3 pieces of wire, and I cut mine about 12 inches, and we're going to go ahead and crimp one end into the slide lock. When I use a slide lock, I like to keep it together if at all possible. This way you don't confuse it. When it's separated, you have to make sure that you have it in the right half, the right side up, and what have you, or your bracelet gets twisted. So in this case, I'm going to keep it connected. And I of course like to use the magical crimp forming tool, so I've simply strung the wire through the loop, back through the crimp bead. And you take your magical crimp forming tool and crimp to where you get the 4 corners smashed. And then you again place it in the notch of the tool and crimp again, and then just keep rotating until you have formed a 2mm round bead with your crimp tool. So we're just going to crimp all 3 strands into the slide lock, and then we'll begin stringing. Okay, I've got all 3 strands crimped on here. As you can see, it looks like 2mm beads on the ends there. And the first thing that we need to do is begin our end. So on one strand, I'm stringing 1 bicone. On the middle strand, I'm stringing a 3mm sterling silver bead and a bicone, and then on the last strand, or the third strand, I'm stringing a 4mm sterling silver bead and a bicone. And as you can see, this has given us a little bit of a slant, and so this is going to be our beginning of our bracelet, and this is how we're going to end. So this is why we need 9 in 2 colors. Those are our ends. In this case, I'm using the blue zircon. So then the next thing I'm going to do is add our Swarovski separator bar, and this, you could also do this project with any kind of a separator bar. I'm using a 3-strand, and so we just want to take the 3 ends and run them onto the spacer bar, and you want to be sure and keep your crystals up at the top. And it is going to fit like this. And you want to be sure and catch all your little tails, and since I moved my beads, some of my tails came out. So what happens now is it's going to have this little bit of a slant to it. And get that back in there. So now what we're going to do here is we are going to add 3 beads, 3 bicones to this top, 2 to the middle, and 1 to the bottom, because it's going at this slant here. So I'm just going to pick up 3 with the blue zircon, and as this pattern progresses, you'll see what it does. It creates these little triangles. And we're just going to do this opposite. So on the second set of crystals, we'll do the 3 at the bottom, but I'll show you. Okay, now this is what I have, and I'm going to string on my second spacer bar. It is kind of difficult to work with all 3 strands. It's just kind of a keeping everything together. Now we've created this little triangle. So again, I'm going to string my second color of bicones. In this case it's dark sapphire. But I'm going to string the 3 colors on this strand right here, 2 and then 1. And then 2. And then 1 more. And then I'm going to string on another separator. And then I'll show you, as you'll start to see the pattern develop now that you've got, working. We've got 2 sets of colors on, and start the 3rd one, and you'll just kind of see, you just kind of do this, alternate this pattern until you reach the end of the bracelet. But it doesn't curve the bracelet. The idea is to keep it straight, and as you can see where the pattern we're going, and we're going to start with our 3rd color now. And again, I'm going to put 3 on this strand, 2 and then 1. And this is purple velvet. You can do this with any color combination. You could do it a solid color combination, and as I said before, you can use any kind of a spacer bar. Now you can really kind of tell what we're doing here. So we're just going to continue through the colors until we reach the end of the bracelet. As you can see, I've got most of the bracelet strung. I've got 2 more colors to add. I stopped at the purple velvet, and then I added amethyst, and then I added fuchsia, light cyan, hyacinth, topaz, sun, and this is jonquil. And again, I had told you that I consulted the color wheel, and I've got a color representative of every part of the color wheel. And now I'm going to string the very end of it using a peridot, and then we're going to end it with an emerald. Okay, now that you can see, I again stopped with the 1 at this top strand, so I'm going to put 3 of the peridot on this strand. And again, at least 2 in the middle is consistent. And the 1. Spacer bar. And then we're going to finish with our emerald color. And again, we're going to finish the end just as we started. So you'll need 9 of this emerald color if you're following my pattern. But you will need 9 for the 2 ends in one color. And then we'll put the last 3 crystals and sterling silver beads on and crimp into the other end.